Hey there, welcome to episode 153 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. It is 4:31 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Greater Vegas on Friday, January 30, 2026. We normally publish this episode every Friday, usually in the morning. Not quite this early, but I think we're going to make it for a change. Today's title and topic, Realm of Possibilities. If you are not familiar with Cafe Genius, nor perhaps the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program, let me fill you in. You've come to the right place. The Cafe Genius was a project started in January of 2022 to wrap around a pitch workout room event that I was holding at Tech Alley. I needed to have a name. The Cafe Genius Tech Alley pitch workout room. Bring your ideas, nothing else. Just get up and start talking. That's how it begins. Somewhat apropos for today's topic. So the pitch workout room, then we added on the pitch mingle so you can practice doing your elevator pitch in a noisy room with people chit-chatting and whatnot. And there were some other ideas, but eventually we started adding on things like Meetup Collaboratory and the Genius Roundtable. And now we have Initiative 2026. Hopefully we'll have another cohort of the Genius Roundtable, a few other ideas as well. We're basically exploring and trying to understand and perhaps even improve the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of the greater Vegas area and possibly beyond. How big is Vegas anyway? Does anyone really know the boundaries? And so Cafe Genius was it. Cafe spelled with two F's, an homage to Cafe Centro, the coffee shop in San Francisco, where Startup Start was their tagline. Sadly, no longer in business after the pandemic, but still spelled with two F's. Genius, as in the Genius lunches we used to have here in the greater Vegas area, especially focused on the downtown project participants. Totally ad hoc, whoever wanted to show up, catch up on who's doing what, what's up, what's down, a little gossip, and then back to what you were doing. No need to have an all-day Saturday event, just like an hour or two. Done. So Cafe Genius was born, and the Impresarios audio program, well, Impresario spelled with two S's, is those are the people making it happen. Those are the people doing the cool things, the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the entrepreneurial innovators here in the greater Vegas area and its ecosystem. There are probably a couple of ecosystems here. I think they all get along, but not well enough. They could always communicate better. But we'll leave that there for today. The realm of possibilities on this Friday, January 30th, early in the morning. Hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary, 2 sentences, which I'll read, 2 episode links, and 1 cross-promotional link for another thing I'm working on. I don't think I've ever provided the website here. It's on my, we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, and then we'll get started with the show. We can get done, and the weekend will be upon us. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know that doesn't mean anything. Saturday is just another day ending in Y. The summary of today's episode, Greater Vegas certainly could be, if we made the most of so many people visiting this little oasis, not to extract so much, but to engage. I may be biased, though. Let's talk about it. Greater Vegas. The links, as usual, the Cafe Genius homepage, cafe with 2 F's, C-A-F-F-E, Genius, G-E-N-I-U-S, period, O-R-G, cafegenius.org. The host profile page, linking everything. As usual, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. All these links are available wherever you found this audio program, so I don't need to spell them out completely, I hope. There you will find a free-form profile page with links to all of my programs, media in general, various projects I'm working on. I'm sure the Smarter Smart City Challenge will be added to that. It will have a website. It does have a URL. And some affiliate links and so on. You don't need to buy me a coffee if you don't want to, but it's no need to spend any money. But I do use it as a sort of a link anchor, a base if you want. It's a site I don't need to maintain other than my own content there. And it's simple, can't miss. So there you go. And the guest link for today's episode, Innovate for Vegas Foundation, innovateforvegas.org. There's another sister homepage, the .foundation, if you're curious. It's linked from there anyway. The meetup calendar, the gatherings calendar for various meetups related to what we're working on, the Smarter Smart City Challenge, and various projects and so on. And there will be a mention of the new website there. So if you are listening to this sometime in the future, or if I'm talking to you sometime in my past, your past, I should say, then you'll be able to find the link for the events that are unfolding on our homepage. We are the lead facilitator. We're also the fiscal sponsor. InnovateForVegas.org is a 501c3 public charity, Nevada nonprofit corporation. Innovate for Vegas, FOR, InnovateForVegas.org. All right, let's get on with it so we can get on with it. So we talked about City as a Showcase before. I did an entire episode titled City as a Showcase. I did an entire episode about learning, leaning into visitors and the possibilities around showing what you or anyone is working on, what you're developing, now shipping, just launched, whatever the case may be, anywhere along a product or service development lifecycle. And I still find this to be a completely viable or at least interesting startup notion. Still on the table for me, but with Vegas tourism down by maybe 10% for 2025 compared to 2024. And I don't know that the December final data that I checked yesterday, still not out. So it is the end of January. So maybe it'll come out on Monday. Maybe it'll come out today. Who knows? But I'm estimating something like 10% down. So say 38 million people came to Vegas, give or take, in 2025. That's a lot of visitors. This may not be the best moment, though, to try this out on people. Hey, I understand your business is down. And by the way, they only really look at the strip, the business on the strip or downtown, gaming revenues and so on. People visiting via the airport, how many people drove here. Those are the numbers that matter, not the impact on small businesses, small and medium, SMB, small and medium-sized businesses around the greater Vegas area. Oh, you lost business? Well, we're really concerned about the gaming revenue, room occupancy rates. Anyway, but I keep hearing that Vegas is dead, people will say, as they so often do on their YouTube channels. Well, let's give it a quarter into 2026. We'll see how it goes, see if things are improving. I don't know if the final CES 2026 numbers are out. I think somebody said it was over 145,000 maybe. That would be some growth at least off of its high of 2018? It was 180,000. We'll see. This really applies to development outside of the greater Vegas area, or developers, I suppose, people that are making things who view Vegas as a place, not a home, if that makes sense. Suppose someone has made the coolest automatic pour-over coffee machine. I have seen such a thing at a show here in Vegas, the HD show, if you're curious. And they would like a resort to make this an amenity in some of their rooms. When I saw the machine in the booth at the show, they did not say hello. The first thing they said, do you own a hotel? I have talked about the interface aspect, so they shouldn't have to wander around asking. That's my startup idea that I've talked about before. So there should be an interface to Vegas for such things. Now, a website. You should be able to say, I have this kind of product. I'm looking to place it in this many places, rooms, venues, etc., depending on what your product is. And then I would like feedback from people when they're using it. I would like to offer it for sale. Just some way of engaging with our 38 million or so people. It was allegedly 41.7 million in 2024. So when I saw the machine there, do you own a hotel? That's all they got, right? There's no simple way to do it. I'm going to guess they could reach out to LVCVA, but I don't know if that would be totally fruitful. So, but they're not based in Greater Vegas, and so they would have to contend with tourism headlines and whatnot. So it may be interesting to reach out to externals. I heard tourism is down, though. I heard Vegas is dead. Maybe. The question I asked the LVGEA folks a decade ago, which I think I've talked about this too, was, how does the tourist population connect with the startup action happening in the downtown project? Or maybe vice versa. So that what they're doing and how they are doing it is something that those on the strip or visiting in general could know anything about at all of this, anything of this. So the showcase for externals is one thing. But anyone doing anything interesting in the greater Vegas area still has access in one way or another to some fraction of about 38 million visitors, give or take. Was there enough uncertainty in that sense? And they're coming to you, to me, to us. What to do. So forgive the broken record. If you've heard the show before, any previous episode, I think I talk about this all the time. So much that my voice is already wimping out. So forgive the broken record. You may have heard this before, or maybe you never had. Who knows? Either way, most of what visitors encounter in the greater Vegas area in Greater Vegas is geared toward the tourism industry, the so-called and trademarked fun economy. It's held by the UNLV Office of Economic Development. It was granted in February of 2025. The fun economy, the usual stuff, right? Touristy stuff. Our local content creators or influencers, if you like, or YouTubers and TikTokers, make content all day about restaurants and resorts and things to do and the hidden stuff the usual tourists won't find, the secret deals, the best and the worst and all this stuff. And none of those are found beyond the usual touristy things to experience. Literally. Yes, innovation gets some mention here and there. Often the benchmark is money, funding, revenue, something like that. Or celebrity. Maybe if your name is Mark or Ben and you get the headlines for yourself, you will get some for free, as they'll brag about you all day. Oh, Hollywood 2.0, looks a dozen Cybertrucks. Woohoo. If you are a small startup, not working on something like maybe in tech somewhere so that the faux Silicon Valley scene will notice you, well, you may well be on your own. Good luck. With most news and attention focused on that fun economy, celebrity, wealth, and combinations of all those, maybe real estate, crime, politics, the usuals, the front page news. The front page news in Vegas is usually kind of sad, to be honest. What did I write here? Oh, how to do interesting things and at the same time let anyone know about them. How do we? What is that? Why did I write a T? That makes much more sense. All right, let's take it from the top. How do we do interesting things and at the same time let anyone know about them? Starting with the people who we are surrounded by on a daily basis. Like just getting the word out here locally is a challenge most of the time. And by that, I mean all the time. And then those tens of millions of visitors, whatever it is, between 3 and 4 tens, it would be nice if they could get a glance at the innovation of Greater Vegas. I mean, they talk about it enough here, global hub of innovation and all, depending on who you ask. So let's talk about CES 2026 briefly. For the first time in 13 years, I did not attend CES. Why? Because it sort of feels the same every year. Of course, it is not the same every year. And in fact, there's all kinds of cool stuff and you can see what's going on. I usually say, and I'm not too far off, about a third of the things you see at CES will never see the light of day. About a third of the things are coming soon. And about a third of the things are probably already available in some form, like maybe an upgrade or this year's edition, or, oh, it's already shipping. We just started shipping it January 2nd or whatever. So, okay, sometimes you can check out this or that or whatever. But I usually find myself exhausted and disappointed. And I live here. I don't have to fly. I just jump on a bus. I don't have to park. Jump on the bus, drops me right off there. I'm all ready to go. Spend the day. Spend 5 days. It's all the same. $20 for a 7-day bus pass. Can't go wrong. And to be honest, I spend most of my time at Eureka Park. But this year was robots and AI, of course. The AI is taking over the world, especially the power generation. And there was some focus at Eureka Park, which is, again, my favorite part of the whole show. Eureka Park on accessibility, that part is okay. I'm not complaining about that. But the thing that was missing yet again this year, any sort of useful representation by the so-called Vegas startup scene. Security staff, catering, other services, locals abound. They're all over the place. But they're not in the booths. There are no Vegas booths, Vegas startups, Vegas innovation. What, 2-3 years ago? It was the third year ago. So it was 24? 24. CES 24. The UNLV had a 10 by 10 foot booth in Eureka Park. Okay, good for them. Where'd they go? Nothing. So, and this is not I'm not diminishing the value of the people that are there. There is huge presence from South Korea, France. The federal government has booths there. I don't know if they were as popular this year. The Italy, Turkey, so many more. Even Ukraine has had booths there recently. Yeah, last year. I don't know if they were there this year. No Vegas booths. We're hosting the party. We're not allowed in. You can work the party, but you're not allowed to attend. No, they're allowed to attend, but you just have to actually do something and you have to get in. Maybe they could sponsor a super booth with a few startups. Nope, not here. Sorry. Now, since I didn't go there, I can't say that 100% for sure, but I did look at the exhibitor directory. There was nothing based in Vegas. And even if there was, why do They should be featured in more places than the catalog of exhibitors. They should be front page news now and then. And I've told the story before about Silicon Valley and its evolution, its emergence over time. Everything that was happening in Silicon Valley was in the print media, the old San Jose Mercury News, for example, right on the front page. But where are those Vegas booths, the Vegas startups, any notion of local innovation? They must be hiding. One of the issues, CES is a show for those aged 18 years and older, which is slightly more inclusive than the typical 21 plus gatherings here locally in Vegas. Vegas has a problem with youth, I guess. If you are at all familiar with amusement park rides, you may imagine the sign as I suggest that one need not be this old to be an innovator. You do not need to be this old to have a startup, to be entrepreneurial, to be innovative. You know what I'm talking about, the sign with the hand at a certain age or height. So there you go. If you don't get it by now, sorry. That has yet to become clear here at scale, that age is not related to innovation. The other problem, CES is an industry show. They may or may not be so welcoming of younger folk. When you sign up to get a CES badge, you basically say, I'm in the press or I'm in the consumer electronics industry in some way. But the age thing is a problem. The age thing is the main problem. And they're just simply not, they're not making that connection. Especially here locally, you could literally have a school bus or equivalent roll out to CES so that young people in the global hub of innovation that the greater Vegas area is could see what's going on firsthand. They'll have to wait, I guess. I don't know about the age thing though. I don't think that's changing. It's probably not something they're interested in bending on, but I'm going by, mostly I've never really asked myself specifically, but I'm going by what teachers have told me in this area. They wish they could bring students there on sort of a field trip. No dice. And as it happens, I've also, I had a whole episode about the list, I think it was actually the title, the Local Innovator Show and Tell, which should be coincident with CES and which would be open to all locals, a young age as, if their parents are there, then come, you could be right out of the incubator, come to the show with your parents, at least one. So the age thing is the main problem, I think, and we're not going to get around it, but we can create a completely separate show at the same time, specifically for Vegas innovation. It doesn't have to be consumer electronics, it can be anything. Innovation can take many forms. I've asked this for a few years now. Why does Vegas, for all of its apparent dreams of being the innovation hub or the next this and the 2.0 of that and whatnot, why is there not more to show and tell at events such as CES or any number of other events? NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, SEMA, which I do not remember what it stands for, but it's something with cars. I should know that one, but I can't remember. It's something Equipment Manufacturers Association, maybe. SEMA, SEMA. Anyway, there are any number of other shows. There's KBIZ, there's various food shows, there's the HD show I mentioned. Who knows? The LVCVA knows. Why can we not have some sort of show and tell coincident with these types of shows? There are people here visiting. They should get some sort of a look at all that's going on here in Vegas. And hey, guess what? Maybe that would be a business development opportunity for these innovators of all kinds, shapes, sizes, and ages. One of these days, I will go into more detail about the Bring Your Own Water project, which addresses this, which I may have actually told already. I can't remember. But either way, connecting inbound visitors to local ideas is left on the table at every turn. I don't get it. And this is a problem. And it begins in January with CES, and it ends just prior to that next January, just prior to CES. Continuous disappointment on a loop. This really should change. So you want to be an entrepreneur. Me too. As you may know, this entire audio program concerns the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of Greater Vegas. As always, the Greater Vegas could be directing your attention to the Vegas and surrounding areas, the Vegas area and surrounding areas, some substantial part of Southern Nevada, perhaps, Clark County at least, or it could be a description of Vegas that is more great, eventually, with some effort. It might mean both of these eventually. So geographical and philosophical, maybe. There have been several mentions of the startup scene, the startup community, and I will remind you that I feel that the word community is overused most of the time. The tech scene and so on. Sadly, it is mentions more than actions. And while there are meetups and special events now and then, these also receive very little in the way of notice and And so very little in the way of growth. They don't really take over anything. Oh, it's Formula One week, but did you know it's also Global Entrepreneur Week in Vegas and on the planet? Maybe we should try to check that out too if we're in town. Nope, no mention. No, it's a secret. We keep those things. We keep those secrets close to the vest. I have lived in the greater Vegas area for nearly 13 years now. And having moved here from the actual Silicon Valley where I was for 14, technically, something like that. I've been here for about as long as I was in Silicon Valley. And while living here all this time, I have taken note of the developments within the downtown project, many having withered in the rest of the mentions and hype. Yes, I said hype. Seem less than cohesive, and I have gone so far as to call it all incoherent. Not a great combination, which is why I'm not always convinced that Greater Vegas is a good environment for entrepreneurial pursuits. It is not great. It would take a lot of effort to be great, much less greater, and that effort should have commenced a decade ago. I should have seen the beginning, and the downtown project was certainly interesting. There was a great deal to learn from it, so we should be doing that. I don't see that really happening. It's an idea that I've tried to pursue, and I usually don't get much interest. I usually get interest in, I'd like to see the outcome of that, but not, I'd like to see that happening with my help. I don't get that part. That's Vegas. If not, the second best time is now. So the best time was a decade ago. The second best time is now. The best time is really 100 years ago, but what are you going to do? So the second best time is now. And hey, let's get started. So we have the rut and the climb. This is the final section. Today's show will be a little bit brief. I believe the Vegas ecosystem and its inhabitants may be in something of a rut. Same meetup, same gathering, same events, an occasional escape, some attention, and then a return to normal. An escape meaning that some company, some entity, some startup gets funding or gets recognition. They blow up a little bit. They become visible. Maybe they leave. That's the usual. Or maybe they fall back down, the Daedalus effect, the wax and wings. So it's another Saturday, another coffee meetup, another aspirational collective. Is it time to mix things up a bit? Yes, it is. I've mentioned it, and now we are doing it, or we are setting up to do it. No. We are, let me roll that back. We are doing it. We are in the meta planning phase. It's an essential component of what we will attempt to accomplish over the year. And it will depend entirely on a population of potential innovators with whom we are almost entirely unable to reach. With whom? A population of which, not with whom, of which. A population of which there we go. We are almost entirely unable to reach through usual means. LinkedIn, local press, local influencers. First of all, LinkedIn is a garbage pile now. The algorithm kills us. So local influencers don't really care. Local press don't really care. Whatever. We're going to have to get creative just to get the Smarter Smart City Challenge off the ground and onto people's radar, so to speak, with our initial early adopter outreach, planning on a March 1st-ish kickoff. Early adopters, those are the 1%. In my 199 model. So the people that are actually doers, hopefully if we can reach them, they'll say, I'm curious to know more about this. And our early adopters will be the people that help us shape some of the finer points of this entire endeavor, which will go from whenever it kind of really starts, maybe April 1st or something, April 2nd, probably better, but all the way until probably January of 2027, right? Give people the full year. There will be some holidays in there. Some people will be in school. Some people will be out of school. Some people will have time a couple of hours a week. Some people want to do it all on a weekend. There are really going to be no rule. There are really going to be, slow it down, no real rules about how one participates, but we want to have plenty of time for people to participate. Local influencers. I wish they would jump into something with their iPhones probably, or some camera and talk about stuff other than, hey, the strip is dead, Vegas is dying, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have to get creative just to get Smarter Smart City Challenge onto people's radar. That's going to have to be the case. I have been called tenacious before, extremely enthusiastic by some others. Other such affirmations. That's always appreciated. I'll say it's probably true. The hill ahead, the hill up ahead. I wrote the hill to ahead. The hill up ahead to get this months-long undertaking going. The Smarter Smart City Challenge is, in theory, much less work on an individual basis than it sounds. Like me, the other facilitators, we really have to do some upfront work, like contacting potential venues, potential sponsors. We should get the sponsors, and especially any who would like to get behind a prize or an incentive. We need to get those sorted earlier, but we need to know how popular this is going to be. So early adopter signups, that will give us some notion of, okay, what could this become? What kind of population? But we're sort of going to be planning it. That's why we're meta planning now. Part of what we're meta planning is the planning phase during that early adopter window. So we can ask people, do you think we should have 3 or 4 in-person hackathons, for example? All-nighters, all week. And the reason to have a hackathon is to kind of energize, because when an event is going to be from like March to January, it's really easy for people to sort of fall off. Like, are they even still doing that? So we need to have sort of a full press, literally. So early adopter window opens March 1st is a Sunday, so March 2nd, maybe. We need to have something for the local press to cover, because if we say we're not going to start until April, they're not going to, and then we don't do any sort of initial signups, then we're not going to know what we're doing until May, and already the half the year is gone. And the press in Vegas is not innovator friendly. So they're interested in like, well, it's kind of boring. Maybe we should come to the actual hackathons or whatnot. So we'll have to dig deep and find press individuals who are interested in early beginnings, and we'll go from there. So, the hill is going to be steep though. Until we get it going, then really we just have to keep turning the machinery that we're planning on now, meta planning now. Get some venues on board. Hey, this week we're doing an audio program. We're doing some interviews on people working on projects. We'll get some local press involved. They'll maybe, they can have a 2-minute segment here and there. Hey, what are you guys working on? We'll work out some of the rules, some of the code of conduct stuff. It's pretty standard, to be honest. There's no real magic. It's going to be a big, giant collaborative event. The big thing here is that it's going to be anyone who wants to join in. Probably not even locals. Now we're having yet another meta planning meeting on Saturday. So some of these things we'll kind of hammer out, because, one person's thinking this through and then somebody else goes, but what about and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. So not everything is totally final. We're only having our second meetup, but things are coming together. I'm getting some interest so far, some pre-interest. See if we can convert that into action. But, venues, sponsors, prizes, recognition, what the schedule will be will involve the people that are going to participate. Because here's the funny part. This whole entire notion is to get people involved with making their smart city smarter. So they should be involved in how we're going to go about enabling that. So to me, getting in on some scheduling or surveying, right? Like, should we do this? What do you think of these prizes? Should we do vertical oriented finale presentations? Things like this, right? Get some feedback, some general notion. And it gives us a chance to describe what we're going to be accomplishing here. It also gives those early adopters an opportunity to start reaching out to potential teammates if they want to form a little cohort. So the early adopters might get some 9s in there. So you got the 1s and the 9s. And 90%, the 90s are the spectators. We may never reach them, but maybe we will. Who knows? So the more people will jump in, if we do a whole month of early adopter. Now, early adopters, once you figure out what's going on, because we're going to tell, there's no real secrets. Once you're kind of going, oh, okay, I see, then nothing would prevent anyone from starting. And the whole notion is to enable people to start when they can, participate when they can, hop on, hop off, right? Oh, I have finals this week. That's fine. There's nothing. That's why we're doing this through the year. That's why, I missed the hackathon weekend. That's okay. You got several months, and then, hey, if it goes well, we'll do it again. So I think it'll be interesting. It'll certainly be a learning experience. So we're going to be organizing the event itself, and then, but we're not doing the innovation part. That's not the innovation part at all. The innovation part is the stuff that the contributors, or really the participants, will be doing they're contributing to their team's effort, their ideas and whatnot. So whatever they do, that's the really interesting and maybe more difficult part. So that comes into play if and when we gather those interested in, making the smart city smarter. And that's going to be the thing. Through their own efforts and their own diverse and varied and not necessarily technical efforts across a spectrum of possibilities. It should be interesting. It will certainly be educational. And that is where we're going to leave this for now, to be continued. Certainly, let's see, let me think. Let me also check a calendar, which could be considered cheating. So March 1st is a Sunday. March 3rd is the Tuesday when we would publish Let's Innovate for Vegas. And then the 6th, 6 is the date we would publish the episode of Cafe Genius Impresarios. That would probably be about the kickoff. So somewhere in there, we'll do maybe the following week, depending on how everything goes. So we'll talk about this again. I promise. I like to repeat myself, and I like to repeat myself. So you'll hear all of this again in greater detail. So with that, if you do check out buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, do recall that the Buy Me an Update audio program is published on Monday mornings. It was published exclusively, hence the name, at buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo/posts. But now, about 2 hours later, after it appears there, it appears on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube channel. And as well, Coffee Solo is a show that has no schedule and no constraints. It could be about anything. It could be any length. It could be published at any time. Coffee Solo was first published at ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo/post. I don't really use ko-fi.com/DanHugo so much. They don't have that freeform profile page feature, but I have posted there before, and I probably will again. These are just sort of unusual. They're not normal podcasts. Well, the Coffee Solo is, but it could happen at any time. But it too gets published on the usual places about 2 hours later. So I keep those around. I signed up for buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo in March of 2021. So we're coming up on 5 years. And I think I did ko-fi.com. I think that was about the same time. So we'll say it's almost 5 years as well. And I really don't use those to make money, which is good because I certainly have not. But if you'd like to support the show, you can do that. Or you can just listen and you can participate in things that I talk about. In the meantime, it is now 5:06 in the morning. Where's the time gone? My clock says 35 minutes or so. It's a reasonable show, not too long. That's it. Thanks for listening. And we have an interesting month ahead or so, a little bit over. Yeah, month and 4 days? Technically a month and, no, it is a month because February has 28 days and January is 31 and today's the 30th. And we would start on either the 1st or the 2nd. I think it's a wash. Call it a month. So we have a month, practically speaking, to get this going. There's a few things we have to do. There's a few people. There's a lot of people we want to contact and reach out to and get that support and so on. I hope the realm of possibilities is one that we can shine a light upon so that people will say, oh, I've always wished that someone would fix that. Maybe I will. Or at least come up with an idea to address and possibly fix. Anyway, we'll talk about this more. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.